Hi.
Hello. Hi, Layne. How are you?
Good. How are you, Becca? Good to see you.
Good to see
How
you
is
too.
everything?
Hey, everything is great. Everything is great. It's well, we've got some nice weather today, and it's a good day to be making some a healthy recipe. And I'm excited to be helping having you share one of your favorite recipes with our followers.
And I'm
So
excited to
I
be here
wanted
as well.
Good, good. Well, everyone, so this is so welcome everyone who's watching us live, or if you're going to watch, some of you might be watching this video after the fact, but it will be up on the Live Naturally Magazine Facebook page. And I'm Rebecca Heaton, editor of Live Naturally Magazine, and I'm welcoming Layne Lieberman today. She is a registered dietitian, a culinary nutritionist, and also a culinary travel expert. I want her to tell a little bit more about that. And then she's also author of a fabulous cookbook called Beyond the Mediterranean Diet. And so, Layne, tell us a little bit about yourself. I want to hear about your culinary travel experience, and then about your book, and then we can jump into making this recipe, which I want to learn more about.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. So first off, I did want to say that it's sad that we can't go to Italy this year, but for 2021, we're looking forward to it. And I do run professional education culinary tours to Southern Italy. Sicily and Puglia are the two areas that I've been working in, and they're wonderful, beautiful, authentic areas for the discovery of the Mediterranean diet. And we do so many, we have so many fantastic food experiences, from wineries to cooking and cheese making. And we go during the olive harvest, which is really
Oh,
spectacular.
nice.
And it's so nice to bring, yeah. There's nothing like bringing fresh olive oil back home from Southern Italy, or at least shipping it home. And it's really so inexpensive. The cost is in the shipping, but the quality and the freshness cannot be compared to anywhere, wherever else you go. It's just unbelievably delicious and full of antioxidants, and it lasts for 18 months, so it's great. And then we do a lot of cheese making, and we go to visit UNESCO sites, and we have cultural activities as well, so that's great. And the reason that I do this for health professionals, registered dietitians get credits for this through the Academy of Nutrition and
Oh, that's
Dietetics.
right. That's right. Right.
And a lot of doctors, nurses, educators, and just friends like to come along because it's so much fun. And it all came about as a result of writing my award-winning book called Beyond the Mediterranean Diet, European Secrets of the Super Healthy. And this book is a book about these countries in Europe that they don't go on fad diets. They eat and enjoy their delicious pasta and chocolate and cheese and drink wine, but they happen to have the lowest rates of heart disease, and they have longevity, some of the longest lifespans in the world, and low rates of obesity. So I write about these countries and their dietary secrets. And also throughout the book, there's recipes at the back of the book, 10 for breakfast, 10 for lunch, 10 for dinner, 10 for desserts, and 10 for snacks. And what we're going to be doing today is doing one on overnight oats. I don't know if you can see, there's two recipes here that are based on oats. One is a traditional Bertram muesli, and another one is another oat recipe, and these are breakfast recipes. And I don't mean to keep talking, but I can tell you why
No.
this is so interesting, why we're doing overnight oats, and
Sure.
how that
Yeah.
ties into. Okay, so we know overnight oats here is a very popular breakfast right now, and it's really a wonderful transition breakfast from going from winter to summer. One, because we don't have to cook, right? We just put in the ingredients, stir it up. put it in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 hours or overnight, and you have a delicious breakfast or snack. So you don't have, in the heat, you don't always want to cook. And it's great for people that are used to eating hot cereals in the wintertime, could now transition to colder, more refreshing, creamy, rich, and delicious cereals without having to cook them. So that's what's so great about overnight oats. But it's really maybe thought of as a fad here. But in my studies, when I was doing my research for Beyond the Mediterranean Diet, what I learned, we lived in Switzerland for 2 years, that there's a lot of history about oats. And there was a very famous doctor. His name was Dr. Brenner. And what he did was, in the early 1900s, he was a Swiss-German doctor. He created this recipe that is now called muesli, which is really what overnight oats is, which is a mixture of raw oats, dried fruits, and dried nuts. And you will see them commonly on the shelves of grocery stores as a cereal, muesli cereals, which became very popular in I think it was the 1960s. But anyway, Dr. Brenner created this recipe in 1902 because there was a movement in the German part of Switzerland, for vegetarianism and health and wellness and wholesome foods. And he believed that this recipe, or this concoction of oats and dried fruits and nuts, would help people prevent aging and heal chronic illnesses. And it wasn't necessarily for breakfast. He actually used it as part of a meal, before a meal. So that was sort of the history of how this oat mixture came to being. And then, of course, we take it in the US as we call it overnight oats, but it's really the same.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. And, there's so many variations. I mean, you can make overnight oats, and you can be as creative as you want. In his time, he used oats and he used apples. He shredded apples, and his formula, or his recipe, also included lemon, which we don't normally use in our overnight oats. I mean, when you see recipes for overnight, but that was his basic recipe. But we like to get creative and do different things. But one of my favorite ingredients for overnight oats, oh, sorry, I forgot to take this out of the refrigerator, is to make it creamy. I like to use a kefir, because kefir is also something very popular in the German his food culture, and it is a sort of a yogurt drink, but it has more probiotic and more cultures. So it actually is a really wonderful liquid from a health standpoint to use in your overnight oats. And it creates a creamier texture than just using, let's say, yogurt or a plant-based beverage or milk. You can use any liquid you want to make overnight oats. I just happen to think using kefir gives it a wonderful kick, flavor, tanginess, and creaminess, and also a high amount of probiotic. It's also extremely rich in calcium and really high in proteins. So you get like 25 to 30% of your calcium needs for the day by using that, and also about 12 to 15% of your protein needs. And it's,
nice.
the oat. Yeah, so I'm going to show you one recipe that's pretty easy.
Okay, and I have my ingredients too. I have and with the kefir, do you tend to use a plain? I just bought a plain unsweetened, but can you use different flavors? Does that matter?
Absolutely, and I use a plain low fat. I like to use low fat because to me, I like a little bit of fat to get some essential fatty acids in the diet. Now you can get essential fatty acids from your nuts, from seeds and from other things that you eat. But I like to, especially if the milk is from grass-fed cows, you get more of those good essential fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids. So I also use a lactose-free variety, because some people do have problems digesting milk sugar, which is called lactase, and they don't have the enzyme lactose to digest the milk. So if you buy a lactose-free variety, then it really works for everybody.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, so let's start with our oats. And I just found these really cute little jars, actually in IKEA, and they're
love
exactly,
those. Those are great.
it's so cute because I mean they make like different sizes, but this little one holds a half a cup, so you can just always pour exactly like to the top, and it's it's a half a cup. So I pre-measured in this little jar. Now I like to use glass jars. Do you have a glass jar?
I do. So I have these two jam. I'm going to make one for me and one for my husband. So we're going to have our overnight oats ready for breakfast tomorrow. So, and I think this will be big enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I always save my jam jars too. I like to reuse them for this purpose as well, to make my overnight oats. So, so I'm starting with half a cup, and I usually
half a cup
really can serve 2 people, which is amazing. And if you use a half a cup for 2 people, it'll be under 5 calories when we're all done, because we do add a lot of things. So I'm just going to pour it into a larger jar here.
Okay.
So we have overnight oats. And then you use about double the amount of liquid to the oats. So that would be 1 cup of kefir. Or again, if you don't want to use kefir, you could use soy milk or regular milk. But again, I think this is the secret to the creaminess. So I shake it up.
Oh, I was just going to realize. I've just realized.
I do a little less. What was that?
I realized I need to shake mine too. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And another thing.
All right. So
that I think people. Yeah. One other thing that's really interesting is a lot of people think like food is bad when it's not when it's not uniform, but really just by shaking yogurts and mixing ricotta cheese, fresh dairy would be better than, and avoiding the guar gums and additives that other companies use. You'll get a much better taste. That's why I like, organic or more natural products. So a cup or a little less than a cup if you like it a little drier. So I go a little less, but some people like things a little more with more liquid.
All right.
And we're going to pour it in.
Perfect. Okay.
And then I'm going to do the one with dried cherries because it's so easy. So I have here about 1/4 cup of dried cherries. And what's nice about using dried fruit is that it doesn't get soggy. So I like to put fresh fruit on top right before I'm ready to eat it, and I use dried fruits and dried seeds or nuts in the mixture. So just about 1/4 cup of the dried cherries.
All right.
Get added into.
Yummy. This is going to be good. I love the thought of having my breakfast just going to be ready and waiting for me tomorrow.
That's always nice, right? And you don't have to think about it. Do it the night before. You don't think about it, and it's it's just And honestly, I don't. My husband loves them for breakfast. I tend to eat my overnight oats as a snack in the afternoon, like let's say if I worked out, or I eat in the afternoon, because it has everything in it. It has the carbs and the protein and the essential fatty acids, your fatty acids. So it's a great snack. Now the other
that's
thing,
good.
So
go ahead.
So the next thing I was going to add, and you could use any kind of nuts, but I like I just tried pistachio nuts recently in this, and these are salted, and so a lot of people like the taste of salt and sweet together. So instead of adding a pinch of salt, a lot of individuals like to use a pinch of salt in their overnight oats. I tend not to add the salt. If you're sweating and very active, a little salt is good, or using salted pistachios.
Okay.
So that's what I'm using now. And
Okay.
this is also about a quarter of a cup of pistachios.
Okay. All right. And I don't have pistachios. I'm going to do walnuts. So.
Okay, that's great.
And
actually,
okay.
Walnuts are so full of omega-3 fatty acids. So that is a really good choice.
That'd be a good one. And for vegetarians, right? That because you get omega-3 tend to be from fish quite a bit, right? Isn't that
exactly?
I was thinking
so
my husband, this is a good source.
Yeah, walnuts are a great source, and also sometimes I use these. These are chia seeds, and
okay.
chia seeds actually create even more texture in the overnight oats. So they're wonderful if you put like just a teaspoon. If you wanted to put a teaspoon of extra seeds into your overnight oats, you could do that, and it almost gives it like a more caviar taste, like a little pop of that. You know how quinoa feels like caviar a bit? The chia seeds create that a different texture in the overnight oats. So if you want to do that, that's another one. And then I put a little bit, a drizzle of pure maple syrup. Do we have the same one?
Yes. We have, I don't know. No, it looks similar. And I grew up in New Hampshire and Vermont, so I definitely like pure. I'm a maple syrup snob, so I like the real stuff for sure.
Oh, good. I love maple syrup. I always bake with it. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
It's my go-to sweetener. I almost don't need anything else unless you need something with granules. But
all right, so drizzling.
A drizzle. And if some people like things really sweet, so put a little extra of a drizzle, right? I mean, a little more.
That's mine. I think I double drizzled.
Well, that's okay. And then I put a little bit of cinnamon. I like cinnamon, so I think I just again a little bit, just for flavor, not to overdo it, because cinnamon could be very strong.
Okay, like in your recipe, you had about an 1/8 teaspoon. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right. That's I think the smallest you could that you could measure. So an 1/8 of a teaspoon or a nice pinch.
Okay.
And that's it. And then we just stir it.
Okay.
And it's ready in 3 to 4 hours or overnight.
Oh, good. And you stick it in the. I assume you put it in the fridge because of the kefir.
Always in the fridge.
Okay. All right.
And it's ready to go in the fridge. I actually made
one
last night too, and there was another.
Oh, good.
My fridge is a little messy here, but
Looks like it's full. It looks like it's full of good stuff. Wish it was at your house for dinner tonight.
So this is the one I made last night. I don't know if you can see the consistency, but you can see it's just a little bit more, thicker and pretty creamy and
Looks
delicious.
Good.
And one of the things I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention in the beginning about the type of oats that you use, it's really important to use rolled oats. And I don't know if everybody can see these here, but rolled oats are not steel cut oats, and they're not quick oats.
Okay.
So when you're buying your oats, make sure you're buying rolled oats. So quick cooking oats are going to be cut. That's what quick cooking oats are, really rolled oats that are cut in pieces. And they don't give quite the taste and texture, I don't believe, I think the rolled oats are much better to use. So that's why I
Okay.
would stick with these. And steel cut oats will not work because you need to really cook those. Sorry about that.
Okay. Oh, no worries. All right. So that's good. That's good to know about the oats. And Layne, can you tell again, with maybe one more quickly about the different types of nutrients that you'll be getting in this in these quick oats?
Sure. And I also want to make one more variety for you.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, sure. You're right. You make that, yeah, to remind us of the different nutrients, because I think
okay, so
that's really helpful.
Right. So what is really great is that, you're going to get 30% of your calcium for the day when you're using a milk or kefir product as your liquid. And if let's say you don't want to have dairy, let's say you're allergic or you just prefer to use a plant-based beverage, look for the protein and calcium amounts on the label. Choose one that has a significant amount of protein and calcium, because a lot of the plant-based beverages are just they're mostly sugar and water. So, and they do add nutrients back in as, a mix of vitamins and minerals, and that's okay too, but just make sure you're buying one that has some nutritional value. I like soy milk.
Okay.
Soy milk's been around for so long, and it's made in a fairly traditional way, and it's really full of protein, and it also has those antioxidants from the isoflavonoids. So that's why I do recommend soy milk as an alternative for a dairy milk. And the other thing is, oats are so full of soluble fiber. And the fibers in oats are the gummy fibers. That's what soluble fiber is. And gummy fibers do two wonderful things for your body. They help lower your blood cholesterol, and they help control blood sugar. So it's actually, oats are wonderful, and they're gluten-free for those who really are staying away from wheat or gluten products. Not, there are other grains that have gluten in them. And sometimes oats are manufactured in a facility where wheat is manufactured. So you have to make sure that the package says that they're gluten-free. If you're truly like a celiac where you cannot have gluten at all, make sure even if you're buying oats that they say gluten-free. But oats are, to me, one of my favorite grains, because I love the texture, the gumminess, and it really does help lower cholesterol. Clinically, I worked with patients a number of years ago, and we used oats in a contest to see how much we could lower someone's cholesterol if they consume like 3 servings of oats a day, and it was amazing. They act as medicine basically to lower your cholesterol. That's why you can use them again not only for breakfast but a snack, or however, maybe dessert. There's lots of ways you can use oats, but I love those. And then when you're using the nuts, whether it's walnuts or pistachios, I also use in this next recipe, I'm going to use a nut butter. This is tahini, which is made from, it's not really nuts. This is a seed because it's made from sesame seeds. Tahini is a sesame seed butter. So it's just ground sesame seeds. So both nuts and seeds are wonderful sources of good fats, the kind of fats that you want to eat rather than, saturated fats. These are high in monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. We call them generally unsaturated fats. And those are the healthier fats, and best to get them from whole foods rather than from oils. A lot of people use a lot of cooking oils. I try to steer people to eat their nuts, get their oils from eating whole nuts or nut butters, and just using a little bit of a really good fresh olive oil when you're cooking. Sorry to get off of the oats, but then you're getting a better balance of your good fatty acids that way. And so that's why I put either a seed or a nut, seed being chia seeds, tahini, sesame seeds, or using nuts like you did, walnuts or pistachio nuts. sometimes in the wintertime, if I have leftover pecans, I use pecans, whatever nuts
Mhm.
that you have. And then adding dried fruits actually give you extra antioxidants. I mean, cherries are full of antioxidants. You can use any dried fruits. Sometimes I use cut up apricots. I like cherries because you don't have to cut them. You just
Right. They're always a good size. Yeah.
they're good. Now in this next recipe, I use dried pineapple. So I buy dried pineapple, and these are good like pantry
Mhm.
items too. When during these times of COVID, when you don't really want to go out to the grocery store that much, you're trying to like
Right.
have things in your pantry that even buying frozen fruit is a good idea. You can use frozen fruit to top your oats the next morning, but just keeping dried fruits in the pantry. So I cut up these 3 slices of pineapple, and it came out to 1/4 of a cup.
Okay. Great. So again, you're doing the half cup of oats to start with, right?
Yeah, here's my 1/2 cup of oats,
Okay.
and they're going into my next glass jar.
Okay.
And I'm going to put my 1/4 cup of, whoops, those don't want to come out, dried pineapple.
Okay.
Flavor. See that in there. And
Okay.
and then my tahini, which is I'm using about a teaspoon. All of this is really, if you like more tahini, you can put 2 teaspoons. You can modify the amounts based on your likes, of course. There's no rules to this. And then again, I'm going to use almost a full cup of kefir in there. Can everybody see that? And then a drizzle again of maple syrup. So it's really, you're just modifying the nuts and the fruit. And then some cinnamon, about an 1/8 of a teaspoon.
Okay.
I make these so often that I really don't have to measure very much.
Oh, yeah, and it's all, like you said, it's all, individual flavor preference.
Yeah, and then when you're done, so that one's done. So now I have 2 for breakfast tomorrow or for a snack in the afternoon. You have to make sure you mix it up very well. You want everything combined. And then, I mean, for the one that's already made, I would take this one and then maybe if I'm, presenting it to somebody somebody who was coming over as a guest and I was serving this, I might put a little extra, dried cherries and some extra pistachios on the top just to make it look a little nicer. You can dress it up with that or dress it up with some additional fresh fruit, whatever you might have, maybe some berries or sliced apple, whatever you like.
Right. Or the shredded. What about shredded apple too? When you talked about earlier, the shredded apple.
Shredded apple, and that's the real traditional way is to use the shredded apple. So that's the way Dr. Brenner did it back in 1902 when he had his sanitarium in this German part of Switzerland, and that's where this all came about. And muesli actually means mush.
Okay.
So so that's the original name. So we don't really think of overnight oats as muesli, right?
No.
But it all goes back to 1902, and then it became commercialized in about 1960s when it was called muesli, and now here in the States we call it overnight oats. So back to the history of food. There's a lot of history here and beyond the Mediterranean diet about how things came to being, even how chocolate started in manufacturing chocolate in Switzerland. The wonderful wheat and pasta that's made in Italy. Unfortunately, a lot of the wheat that we grow here is a little different because we've hybridized our wheat so much, but there's still a lot of ancient grains and ancient wheat that's used to make pasta in southern Italy. And that's why, I mean, Italians would never give up their pasta unless they absolutely had to. I know a lot of people are not, are afraid of carbohydrates and they think they gain weight. And there's so many different diets today, the keto diet or, whatever diets on, in the news. But basically, it's going back to old ways, being mindful of portion control, being mindful of quality of ingredients, and of course being as active as you possibly can as well, because activity, even Dr. Brenner in Switzerland, while he had his sanitarium feeding everybody these overnight oats, he was making everybody exercise as well. So we need to be active and exercise and eat good quality ingredients and be aware of our portion size. And that's what good health is all about. Stress reduction as well, of course. We don't want to be too stressed.
In these times, we definitely need more things to help us reduce our stress and keep us healthy.
It's so true. And, good eating and being active, taking walks, even in the evening time, is a good thing to do. And cooking, I think people have been cooking much more. I know my friends in the grocery industry are very happy with business because people have been buying more in the grocery stores.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, cooking. It's a different time for sure. But well, Layne, speaking of cooking, and I love the fact that you don't have to cook this. So this is a really nice, quick, healthy recipe with fun varieties. You can, like you said, you can do different types of combinations, and really great nutrition. So this is on the base recipe for Layne's creamy overnight oats is on the Live Naturally magazine website, livenaturallymagazine.com. And then of course you can always get Layne's cookbook, the Beyond the Mediterranean Diet. Layne, can we get it on Amazon, or where can you order your cookbook?
Yes, it's on Amazon. It's also, I think it's still available at Barnes & Noble, but not in all the stores, maybe online. But Amazon's the best place to get it. And for more recipes also, I do have a website, worldrd.com, if anybody's interested. And if RDs are watching or anybody's interested in the culinary tours, please connect with me. I'd love to connect with anybody who's interested on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, any of the social media sites, or my site, worldrd.com. And I love working with you, Becca. It's always fun, and Live Naturally.
Great, me too.
So that's always great, and I hope we can do something again soon.
I was just going to say, can we do this again? I would love to do this again with you soon. So.
Absolutely. You let me know when.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for doing this, Layne, and thanks everyone for joining us. And like I said, you can find this recipe on livenaturallymagazine.com. And healthy and happy eating to everybody.
Healthy and happy. Stay safe.